Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you? Super cool. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on, where is everyone today? Trying to block the sun. Wearing my nice nighttime mode Rhino Street shirt. In fact, I'm not sure that most people know. So when you go to Rhino Street, there is that button on the top right corner that is for nighttime mode. And what it does is it turns all the font and all the content green, Rhino green, and everything else is black. And it looks really cool. Like, it looks super cool. I never use it because I just like the nice clean white background. But nighttime mode is, I know a lot of people that only use nighttime mode, and that's really cool. So welcome. What's on the agenda for today? So the webinar event that we had Wednesday was very much more of a learning opportunity than a success story to share. But in any success story, it's not A to B, it's, A to B to C to D to E. And the only unsuccessful thing that you can do is not learn from results, right? So what we did learn from our event Wednesday was we had a really good showing. I think we had like 175 show up and not a single conversion, like not one. Like nobody even emailed to learn more. They were just completely like, this is poo-poo. And not poo-poo in the sense that that what we were actually presenting was poo-poo, but in the sense that the video wasn't completely finished. We didn't edit it. The whole thing was kind of juggled. And that was totally on me, right? I underestimated how much time I was going to need to actually do that. Okay, yeah, no, totally cool. But what we did learn was, okay, now we just have to edit it, which we did. And that AI video is fantastic. It really is very good. And what I was getting to the point of yesterday, which again, so this is what I find so marvelous. So when something happens, if you have the ability to learn from it, you then go ahead and find your path. And what I mean by that is yesterday when I was sitting here having our meeting, I was like, well, I don't want to characterize people as, some people are, uneducated, right? And I was going to say stupid. And I never believe that. Like, I don't believe there is such a thing as an stupid person. And you might be laughing like, Anthony, there's like plenty of them. And actually in normal vernacular, like just walking around, I think I see 1,000 of them a day. But when you peel back the onion, it's not that they're stupid, it's that they might not have a certain level of respect. They might not have a certain level of care. They might not have a certain level of experience. They might not have a certain level of self-confidence. They might not have the attributes that would allow one to distinguish themselves as knowledgeable versus unknowledgeable. And in doing so, you find that a very large percent of the population is maybe not as educated as they could be, or always on guard for something that is scammy because everyone is taking advantage of everyone all the time. And that's something that rolls down from the top, right? Like when you see your politicians and your governments all colluding with each other with big business and censoring this or doing this. Like I just saw one of the top executives of Pfizer on tape talking about how they're mutating the COVID virus so that they could come up with the next vaccine for people. And it was not reported anywhere on CNN, MSNBC, anywhere. And it has 12 million views on Twitter. So the point is, well, why do people care if they could find out that Miley Cyrus is telling girls to buy their own flowers? Like more percent of the population knows that. And it's just, from the top, it's just everyone's taking advantage of everyone, which actually gives a certain level of culture where it's like, okay, well, if they're doing it, I could do it, right? Like they're setting an example, which I think might have been the most not disastrous, but the part of the Trump presidency that I will confess that I think was really not good. So when he came in, everyone had this belief like, oh, he's the business mind, he speaks from his heart, he speaks from his mind, and he says really nasty stuff to his enemies. And I think people on an instinctual level understand that, right? Like, you're my enemy, you're doing this to me, therefore I don't like you, therefore I'm nasty to you. But that doesn't really get you far in life because, yeah, it got him to the presidency, but it got him like impeached like 5 times. It got him like, I appreciate how much energy that man has, because he's like 70 something years old and he's fighting every day. Now, whether you think he's fighting for good or bad is it's not the debate. He's always fighting. And you could ask yourself, well, if he wasn't so nasty, would he have to fight so much? What I always said about the Trump presidency was the biggest missed opportunity was that he did not understand that he needed to make friends, right? Someone that doesn't like you is the first person that's willing to like you if you give them something to like, right? Like nobody wants to publicly not like someone that's successful. But in fact, everyone that doesn't like someone that's successful would like them very much if that successful person very publicly came to them and said, hey, listen, you were right, let's work out our differences. And now that person is attached to them for life. And the point I'm trying to get at is that because the level of abuse and the dialect and rhetoric is so nasty, that people feel quite comfortable to try to scam others, because it kind of gets lost in, like, if you get caught trying to scam someone, it's not that you're this really bad person, you're one of the bad people. And if you're one of a group, you're not the only one, right? So you're never standing out as like, oh, I'm the worst person in the world. It's like, yeah, well, I'm doing what they're doing, so if you're mad at me, go talk to them. And I think that's quite powerful, and it actually gives people a lot of cover to do nasty stuff. So it's just kind of a commentary on culture. Yeah, thank you, Maurice. Group Morris. So it's a commentary on culture that comes all the ways, that actually enters this debate, right? Like internet marketing. And what I mean by that is the most difficult challenge that I've had in internet marketing, and I'm really bad at it. Like I'm almost at the point that I'm like questioning how bad I can be at something, right? Like I've never been this bad at anything other than like ice skating, which I'm terrible at. And it brings me back to when I was on Wall Street. I was the same way. I had the least amount of clients, but I had the highest performing clients, right? I had the most money under management, but I made the least amount of money. Because, and that might not jive with you, but Wall Street's built a certain way. It's that you kind of have flexible morals and a short memory and high sales skills. And the point was, just get on the phone, Mr. Jones, blah, 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 blah. No, you don't want it? Okay, bye. And you go to the next one, you go to the next one, the next one. And when someone's willing to argue with you, you take them to the mat, right? Like people would clap when people got hung up on, because that meant you were unwilling to take a no. They had to hang up on you to get off the phone. And if you do that enough times, enough people will say yes. It's just, if you berate someone to the point that they have to hang up on you because they don't know what else to say, more times than not, somebody will say yes, especially if you call them back. I was never that person. In fact, when I would call and try to solicit business, I would get hung up on so many times. But it was only by the people that had a net worth under, say, 1 million or 2 million people, because it was those people that got called so many times from the aggressive brokers that they always believed that there was a scam, and it was a scam in the making. And the fact that I was unable or unwilling to go ahead and have the confrontation over and over and over again with them, they actually felt a little emboldened, like, 5 brokers got me yesterday, but I got this guy, Anthony, today. And my point is, the commentary on culture is not conducive to people that do things right. And that's kind of the point where culture ends up irreversibly getting to a point that it kind of goes over, where someone such as myself is having such difficulty internet marketing when I'm sitting here sharing an opportunity that actually we just spent 95 days in a case study, like a pilot program, and we're presenting our data, where any single person with, let's say, not to be nasty, but like a brain can say, oh my God, like this is really good stuff. And the point I'm getting at, just like on Wall Street, was that the people that are with me, like the people that are in RHINO, well, the data proves they stay with RHINO. When I opened up and I got 101 emails from different RHINOs that answered those 3 questions of what brought you to RHINO, why you with RHINO, and when do you sell RHINO, I read them and I was taken back. Like, there's some times in your life where you think your flatulence smells like roses, right? Like you're too cool for school. But I'm not sure you never really believe that. It's kind of like you're just high on your own supply. But when you see so many others from all walks of life say things that are around, I believe in you, or I trust you, or thank you for this, or I'm with you, it puts on a level of responsibility and obligation that I already put on myself, but where you feel so good, but it's not, the feeling isn't free. It comes with the obligation that you better not let these people down. You better not let, and not these people, but let those um, that find you as someone that they want to follow. And it's not that, okay, well, Anthony, you have 100 people that are super, super duper Rhino. It's that, Anthony, you have 33% of the active people that are super duper duper Rhino. Now, the question then becomes, what brought them to Rhino and how did they become super duper Rhino? Because the answer is somewhere in there, how we could get others to be super duper Rhino. Because when you have 407 total members with 350 active over 56 different countries, over 6 different continents, 63% male, 33% female, and every age demographic 40 and plus, that's a really, really broad, like, that's totally broad. So I could look at Brian writing something really cool. I could see Maurice writing something cool. I could see Frida writing something cool. And just those three alone are absolutely diabolically opposite from each other. In fact, you could not find three people more opposite than those three, and yet they're bonded and united by something that we've done together. So the point being, it's not an individual thing, right? Like, oh, Brian likes me because me and him tell funny jokes, or Maurice likes me because him and I tell funny jokes. There is something that is inherent in people that the sample size of Rhino goes ahead and displays that this touches this broad audience in this type of way. So the question then becomes, well, how do we get that out there? And when I go ahead and take a look back at, say, just Frida, Maurice, and Brian, well, we've had the luxury that we've been together for 2 or 3 years. The affection, the trust, the confidence has come over the course of time. Seeing, Rhino make a mistake and then seeing them solve it. Writing Rhino an email that you didn't know how it was going to go, and then Rhino surprising you with the response. Or something that didn't work out, and Rhino right there by 12:15 at nighttime, writing you an email back saying, okay, we fixed it, and I apologize. That's been built over time. But could that be considered like education, right? Like any individual that's been with Rhino for 2 or 3 years has been educated to what Rhino is. Now, whether they've chosen to take science or mathematics, and what I mean by that is whether they've chosen that they love the education of the profit incentive, or they love the education of the experience they receive, or they love the education of the access they have, or they love the whatever they chose is a different story. But I think it comes down to, well, there's an education part of it, and education takes time. And when I go back to the stock market, and I told you I got hung up on like a bazillion times by the people with net worths under $1 million, $2 million. And that's because they were the people that were getting berated. It's almost like when you're a single guy at the club and you go up to, you're intimidated by the super pretty girl because you're like, I can't get her. But then you see someone that looks a little bit more attainable. And I don't know how to say that nicely, right? So I don't mean it disrespectfully, but someone that you're not so intimidated by, someone that you think is more likely to say hello to you. Well, you see her and you're going up to her for reasons that are inherent in you. I'm intimidated by that girl, but this girl looks attainable. I could go with my confidence. Well, every other guy feels the same exact way. You're not the only person that thinks like that. There's a whole slew of people that don't want to strive as high as they could because they're nervous of their own self-ego. So when you go up to that girl, you might be the nicest guy. You might be super handsome and super nice and say, hi, my name is Bill. What is your name? That girl is so on guard because every other, and not that you're a dirtbag, but every individual that thought she was attainable came to her for maybe not so noble causes, right? Like they thought they could, maybe get her home that night or something. So they go up to her like, yo, hey, what's up? Let me buy you a drink. Blah, blah. You don't want me to buy you a drink? Oh, look at you, look at me. And those girls unfairly get that type of attention because they are not intimidatingly, attractive, or whatever the case may be. The same thing goes for the stock market. All my clients were general partners at law firms. And it's funny because when I was working in the stock market, and the individuals I work with, they're like, we're running like a business that is like a regulated business. The last thing we want to do is talk to lawyers. Like when you're in the stock, you don't want to talk to lawyers. Like they're the people, and God forbid you lose a lawyer money. Well, they're in the profession that they could sue you themselves, right? Like they don't need to hire a lawyer. And you're going after the general partners, like the most astute lawyers in the entire country. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm not doing anything illegal. I don't think they should sue me. If I did something illegal, I don't know. I didn't do it on purpose. which I never did, right? But more so than that, these were the individuals that they were like the pretty girl. No one called them because they were too intimidating. Like they were so far out of the league of the individual that only knew how to, read a script to someone. So when I called them, I had the benefit that they were not exhausted from other people calling them. And when I did, I was able to say, "Hi, my name is Anthony, may I buy you a drink," right? Because just like that really intimidating girl, they don't get the attention, especially not from good people. So when I would speak to the general partners of the law firm, "Hi, my name is Anthony, I'm calling on behalf of so-and-so. The reason for my call is, I understand that you might be busy, but would you allow me the opportunity to give you a call back? That's all I'm asking for today." Yeah, you know what? That was really respectful. You know what, Anthony? I go ahead and email me your details, and I'll get back to you at a calendar appointment, right? And then when you would do that, and they didn't get back to you at a calendar appointment, because you built the whole relationship on mutual respect, you had that bit of leverage. You had that ability to go ahead and say, "This is who I am. My time is valuable." Where I would email them back and say, "Hey, Mr. Jones, you did promise that you would get back to me with the calendar. I suspect you're super busy. And I did not want to be so disrespectful to allow you to think that I called just anyone. So I do remember you, and if you would be so kind to send me a calendar invite, I'm still waiting," right? And 9 out of 10 times they would, because that was a very respectful thing to do. And what would happen is these individuals would open accounts with me. And when you go ahead and take their questionnaire, right, like we call a speed sheet, the KYC, know your client. "Mr. Jones, what's your annual income?" "Oh, 2.5 million. "Mr. Jones, what's your net worth?" 47 million. And when you start getting numbers like that, you know that you're talking to someone that understands the high level of finance or the high level of opportunity, because they're able to take a look at something that's a problem and not look at it as a problem. They look at it as an opportunity for a solution. Because like I said, with Rhino Street and the automations, all the time that we went through to get it, completely frustrating, want to rip my hair out. But what I always said was, I actually like how hard this is, because I know that the next individual that wants to compete with us, what their path looks like. And that's when I start measuring Rhino in terms of, is it competitive, or can it be an industry leader? Because I know that every decision that came back on me had to do with an immense amount of emotional energy, and it was a lot. And navigating different conversations and keeping everyone coalesced, because you got to remember, at the end of the day, every market in the entire world is built on confidence, especially Rhino and including Rhino. So even if 1 or 2% of Rhino was just like, "You know what, like this is bop, 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 I'm out of here," that always has the opportunity to start a waterfall event, like a cascade, where people say, I don't know what's going on, but I see things I don't like. Let me shoot first and ask later. And like any market in the world, that's what they call run on the bank. The bank might be completely solvent, but if everyone goes ahead and takes their money out at the same time, the bank goes out of business, because it's like, wait, what happened? Like, how did that even happen? So the point of what I'm saying, in a roundabout way that I'm just opining on a beautiful Friday morning, I think a competitor would have a high, yeah, I really do, Bill. And it's not that we have the best tech or the best this or the best that, but I just know the amount of Anthony that took for this, right? And anytime anyone asks me, like, "Hey, Ant, you just go out there and tell everyone everything. What if someone competes with you?" I always say, if someone's able to be more Rhino than Rhino, I would join them. I really would. Because it's not that I'm Rhino because I'm like the smartest person. No, I'm Rhino because it's Anthony's heart, right? So the point that I'm trying to get at is that I think we're in the wrong market. I think we're marketing the wrong way. I think that so much of Rhino, like when I would speak to those general partners at the law firm, see, those calls weren't 5-minute pitches, right? Like when you were in Wall Street, you didn't stay on the phone for more than 5 minutes, because the person was so busy that they would hang up on you, because they got calls from everyone else. They already have 3 or 4 brokers. So it was like, "Okay, Mr. Jones, I want you to own FCX. It's Freeport McMoran. It's the biggest gold company in the world, the biggest copper company in the world. They have the biggest gold land mine in Australia. This is where we see gold prices going. They're leveraged to this. This is why I think you should buy it." And the person would say, "Well, I don't want to." And then you would go your bullet benefit close, right? Like you would give the pitch and you would keep all your bullet points for rebuttals. So Mr. Jones would say no, and then you would say, well, did you see that the Federal Reserve is doing this? This is going to equal gold prices at this, which means we're going to give you a return of at least 15% over the next month. Do you like making money? Yes, okay, buy it here. And you just keep doing that. Eventually, you take the guy down to the mat. But that was because you were using pure sales tactics. When you were on the phone with the general partners, the call did not go like that. Like they would hang up on you that second if you ever thought to speak to them like that. Those calls where I was sitting there talking about the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944 and what it meant to Nixon closing the gold window in 1970 and how that meant for inflation going forward, and at a compound rate of so and so, you can see that the gold prices would equal this, and then bringing in political policy and things that we could expect going forward, whether it's monetary rates, interest rates, income, unemployment, et cetera, and what it meant for understanding where we're going. And the beauty of that was, now, of course, nobody knows the future, right? But when you were able to describe a situation, or at least a context where you had a very vivid understanding of what brought us here, and a very good understanding, or at least the ability to forecast where we're going, not only was that the important part, but the fact that you were able to kind of set up milestones or markers, right? So in describing something in such detail in terms of forecast, you're inherently giving someone the guidelines of whether you're going to be right or wrong. So when you say, well, tomorrow I think the moon, tomorrow I think a purple bird's going to cross the sky, and that's why I'm in this investment. Well, if the purple bird doesn't cross the sky, well, then you're wrong, right? But if it does, you can continue being trusted to continue being right. And that's what the general partners always inherently understood. That's why they were very comfortable sending a lot of money for me to manage, because they understood Anthony's not just saying, oh, well, an earnings report's going to come and he's going to sit there and wait for it. He has things that he's looking at every single day. And for him to have this much knowledge about what's going on now, he's obviously a very learned individual, but very on top of every single thing that's happening. And that's how RHINO is really built, right? Like we come out here every single day, talk about what happened, where we've come from, what we're going to do next. And very quickly, have you ever been part of a platform where the person comes out and is more wrong than me? I don't even think that's possible. But every time I'm wrong, is it wrong in the sense of, oh, he's just been wrong for like ever. He just keeps going. He just, no, it's okay. Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing, but now we move on. And I think the point of what I'm trying to get at is when you take a look at the divergence between those that are, say, educated versus those that are uneducated, it's not that they have different goals, right? Like I think the goal of every single person when it comes to finances is to accumulate as much wealth as possible. Like I think that makes sense. I think that those that are uneducated go about it very differently because they're approached by so many scammy or so many approaches that when they go ahead and give into it, they find out that they were foolish for doing it, right? Like the girl that seems fairly attainable, or at least you could go up to, and confuses the guy that's going up to her for being a good person when really he's not, but he just thought that she was vulnerable, right? That he thought he could say this, and this because it always works with that person. Same thing with brokers, same thing with sales. In fact, when you actually watch any of these sales videos and like the gurus that teach it, there's no appreciation for the customer, like zero. It's if you do this many times in this format, like people actually sell you templates, right? I'll give you the email sequence that works every time. Implicit in that is that like people are so replaceable that we can go ahead and get every single person, and we could get a good percentage of them by not even knowing who they are. It doesn't even matter who they are. Just do this, right? And I think that makes sense, right? Like I think that actually works, but I don't think I agree with it. Well, not that I don't think, I know I don't agree with it. And that's always been the difficult part for RHINO. It's like, how do we come up with this marketing that works, but that we also agree with? Like I'm not oblivious, right? Like I know I could start doing Facebook ads, right? The most generic, like, hey, you want to get rich tomorrow type thing. And we will get a response, right? Like we have enough money that we will get a response if we need it. But then when those individuals come to RHINO, what's their behavior like? Do they come to RHINO and they're they feel fooled? Do they come to Rhino and they buy and sell and do more bad than good? Do they come to Rhino and now they're interfering with the actual statistics because they were brought about in a weird way? Do they come to Rhino and they need attention? They're calling you every day. They're telling you this isn't right or that isn't right. I don't know. But I know if you bring someone along by tactics that aren't exactly honest with where they're going, you don't know what's going to happen. And I like to kind of minimize as many variables as possible. I don't want to go ahead and promise people I'm giving them a filet mignon if they sign up for Rhino and then never give them the steak and then wonder what's going to happen, right? So anyway, the point of all of this, Anthony, like, shut up already, right? I think our marketing has to be more towards education. And I think a lot of what we are doing actually requires education, right? Like, you have to understand what markets are. You have to understand how the math works. You have to understand the behavior behind it. There's things that you actually implicitly have to understand Rhino. And I think once you're able to understand that stuff, it's almost like you're not selling someone a Mercedes, but you then teach them all the components of the best car experience you could have. And so they say, okay, I know what I'm looking for now. And then you present them with options. And naturally, obviously, the Mercedes is going to fit it because you built the program to end with Mercedes, but you're allowing the individual to select Mercedes. And I think that's the most honest way of doing it, especially if you're doing it in a noble fashion. Yeah. So I think that becomes a multi-step process. And what I mean by that is, I remember when I was working with Rick, Rick Mateka, for those that don't know, all of his marketing was kind of like, you give the free thing away, like called a lead magnet. And it's not unique to him, that's like industry standard. And then, but wait, would you like to purchase this item? Usually $47, you could get it for $7 right now. And then if they said yes, cool. And then if they said no, it brought them to another page. Well, irregardless, that's not even a word. Regardless, it always brought them to the next page, but allowed them to select no, I don't want it, or yes, I will. Then the next page was, and there was two variations of it. If you press no, I don't want it, the next page was, hey, I know you didn't want that, but last chance, you could get this thing. It was $400 and you get it for $7 here. Or if you did want it, hey, congratulations, you got it. And now because you have that, you'll add so much value to this. It used to be $1,000, you get it for $100 here. And the point being, you kind of allowed the person to have digestible bites. And even more so than that, what Rick would always do is, when you get someone into something, like he would have like a 7-day email sequence go out to them, and you would learn this, and you would learn this, and you would learn this. And back then, that's when crypto was kind of becoming a thing. He's like, Ant, we should make a crypto course. Like, you're really good at finance and you know that, so let's actually make modules and we'll give it away. And at the end, it's like, okay, well, if you understand this, we made it, why don't you come over here? Like, go to the place that knows it the best. And it kind of is symbolic of how education is in the world, right? Like, if you're in charge of teaching people, well, then you're kind of also in charge of guiding where they're going to go. And that could be wildly abused, right? So let's get that out of the way. But it also could be if you're from a noble position, like say you're Jesus Christ or something, and we're not comparing around to Jesus Christ, obviously, right? Like that's not where we're going. But that was a really, really noble individual that was giving the teachings of what Christianity was and what heaven was like and how to get there. And the point being, well, the individuals that he taught obviously were going to have a similar conclusion as he, because he was teaching them things based on the conclusion, which obviously was where he was from. So he was just sharing where he was from. But the conclusion to individuals was, hey, listen, if I live my life like this, I will end up there. He taught it to me. Like, Jesus Christ didn't teach anyone something and they're like, yeah, that's a great teaching, I'm going to become Hindu. It would just never have happened because he was teaching something. So when you put that all together, I think there is a middle ground where you can go ahead, or at least Rhino can go ahead and say, you know what, let's take a step back. What is it that we're offering? And take a real Socratic method to it. What is it we're offering? What is the value of what we're offering? Why is that the value to what we're offering? How do I know that's the value to what I'm offering? What would I have had to have known to come to that conclusion? And really peel the onion back to the point where, can you teach a 5-year-old enough that he would say, I want to join Rhino? And does that mean you have to make a book with like cartoons? Maybe. I really don't know. Does it mean that you have to have a really, really exciting blog and SEO all over the place? I don't know. And we're going to find that out. But I think that's the route we need to go, because I don't like competing with individuals that are just like cold email marketing or doing Facebook ads, because they're better at it than me. I'm not that person. But I can tell you what I am. When the individual comes to RHINO, there is zero doubt in my mind that we're superior to other places, because I know what we're doing. I don't think there's another thing on the market that I don't think there's another thing on the market that says, hey, this thing is going to go up infinitely, like get in, or hey, this is how you can protect your entire community. It's a complete search engine, it's yours, and it's free. Like, there you go. And if you use them together, now all of a sudden your listings and your data and everything is completely safe. And at the same time, by participating, you have an asset that goes up infinitely. I don't know if there's anything bigger than that. And we learn along the way, whatever. But I'm wildly over. This was like a half hour. But the reason it was so long is because I'm actively thinking about this from Wednesday, and I'm going to spend a lot of time today and this weekend putting something together. I really want to be able to like go up to a 5-year-old, allow them to start from step 1 and see if they can make it to step 100. Like, is that possible? And I think it is. I really do. So I think that's where we need to go with this, because it's not lost on me that we've plateaued. It's just not lost on me at all. Like, I just know that. So there's a lot of things we're doing. We're increasing our reach. Our emails are now reaching 8,000 compared to 6,000. And we're constantly thinking, right? Like we're making it up as we go along. So it's not a bad thing. If the goal teach so a 5-year-old can understand it, maybe the direction of whiteboard drawing. Yeah. So I think I think there's a lot of different things. And I think we have a really good opportunity, because I think what RHINO has demonstrated, especially over the 95-day pilot program, is that we are hitting a very real thing. And that's actually kind of what got me even further. When I took a look at the numbers and I read all the emails, at some point in life, you actually get a little taken back, like, wow, we really are where we need to be. Now it becomes more responsibility. It's not a big responsibility to take something that's nothing to something. It's much more responsibility to take something that's real and not mess it up, right? Like, when we have this, it's beholden on us to get there. And we're going to. Like, I don't know how to say otherwise. Like, we're not going to fail. Like, that's zero chance. Like, anyone that knows me, I'll take this in window. Like, we're going to get it done. And the journey is the fun part. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. I absolutely love all of you. And yeah, it's good. All right. Well, anyway, love you. Goodbye. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. Happy everything. All right. Bye.